welcome back. My name is Tom, and this is my custom build. So last week we worked on tearing down the old camper and removing all unneeded metal off of it. Remember, this was an old Palomino Mustang. We didn't want any of the wood. We did go and recycle the aluminum, but the rest of the wood is still in a pile, ready for that to be taken to the dump. So now we're just down to the bare frame. But before we move on with anything else, as I mentioned in our first video, I wanted to discuss design. So I thought I'd take this time this week to discuss design. So as I mentioned in the first video, there were certain requirements that needed to be met for this build, and one of them was the need for enough room for myself, my wife, and our two children to be able to sleep in comfortably. The other was that we needed to have a bathroom, and that we needed to have air conditioning and a small galley. So with those, the first step I needed to do was the first step I needed to do, if I can speak correctly, because sometimes I can't, and I don't know, maybe if I slow down a little bit, I'll do that. I'll slow down. So the first step I did was I needed to make a detailed drawing of the trailer frame itself, making sure that I wrote down where all the different pieces of the frame were at, where the tires sat, where the bumper was at, and stuff like that, all the way up to the front and everything, up to the to where the whatever that front piece is, the piece that hooks on the car. It's the tongue. Maybe it's the tongue. I think it's the tongue. Anyway, so I also kept my original measurements of the floor. Remember, I wanted to rip off all the walls and then measure out the floor to see what size that floor was there. Once I started doing that and I had all those measurements down, I was throwing out different ideas. I wanted to come up with just a specific custom shape or something I wanted to do that really looked nice. And I like the idea of the canned hams and doing something like that, but I also like the look of the widget. And so between both of those, I wanted to kind of find something in the middle, something in between. So I kind of went back and forth and trying different, or just drawing out different things. Nothing to measure. It was not to measure, to scale or anything like that. Maybe not to measure. It doesn't make any sense to say nothing to measure. I mean, I measured a bunch of stuff, but I mean nothing scaled. It was just like, hey, I'm going to draw this out and we'll see how this looks. And if it looked really stupid, then I threw it away in the trash can. Anyway, so I also took and did a lot of cruising around on Teardrops and TinyTravelTrailers.com. So actually, no, it's Teardrops and Tiny Travel Trailers. The website is tnttt.com, and it'll be down below in the comments section, and you can click on that link, and it'll take you over to there. One cool thing about this site is it's a forum, and they have just hundreds of different discussion topics out there, as well as other people's designs, their build journals, and all this different stuff that you can kind of get ideas from. So once I decided on a design as far as a floor layout goes, then I went to Google SketchUp. Now, I'm going to admit to you, I'm not that great with SketchUp. But I was able to lay out my floor and try out some different designs. For my original design, I saw that if I put the bunk beds on the opposite wall of the door, then we couldn't have a TV to watch. And that's a big deal. We like to watch TV, especially when we're sitting around a table. And if it's a rainy day and you can't go outside while you're camping, you want some kind of entertainment. The other thing was so then I realized that, well, if I move the bunks over to the same size as the door, same side as the door, then maybe that might work. And it did work. It freed up that wall. But then after looking at it some more, I'm like, man, there's just not enough room for my wife and I to sleep. So we came up with a third design, or I came up with a third design that it put the bunks on both sides, and I think I'm going to make them so that they can pop up and down a little bit, so that they're out of the way, so that people can sit down and eat or whatever, and then at bedtime we put them up and they're ready to go. So one thing I considered in the very original part of this video, or of this build I should say, not the video but the build overall, was to extend the floor out at least a foot on either end of the past the trailer frame itself. But then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, I decided not to do that. And my reason is that, and I've read on some of the forums, and some people may say, oh, Tom, that's perfectly fine. You can do that up to 6 inches. It'd be great. But the reason I didn't do that is because I didn't feel like, I felt like that would have been a really weak point, especially the way that the design is for the walls and for the ceiling, because the way the ceiling actually comes down and wraps around. So I didn't really want to take the chance of that, coming apart or just weakening over time. So I don't want to take that chance. I think I'm just going to leave it the way it is. If we decide that there's just not enough room, we'll sell this camper and start working on the next build. Okay, so I want to kind of go over the design that I came up with, but first I want to go over some of the stuff I did. So the first thing I did was I came up with and I know it's going to be kind of hard to see. I'll do pictures of this, but this is the detailed drawing of the actual camper frame itself. And I wanted to make sure I got everything down correctly. I didn't want to be completely spot on, like I didn't measure specifically like inside to inside or outside to outside for the frames and stuff like that, between frames or between points. I just wanted to make sure that I got down a specific, I measured it all the same way, but then I got down a specific measurement so that I knew that this was going to work out. Also, I downloaded, and again, I downloaded the PDF information on the widget, and while this one is basically a little bit over 5 feet and less than, it's about 11 feet long. It's not tall, I'm over 5 feet, so I don't want to have to stoop inside a camper. So I didn't go exactly with this, but I did like the curves that were on the widget, especially up in the front and in the back area back here. So I kept the curves, but I lengthened it, and I made it a little bit taller. So we're going to see how that handles as far as driving down the road. I don't know if that's going to make it a lot more, if it's going to make it stable or not, but we'll try it out and we'll see what happens and go from there. One cool thing I like about the widget, this diagram, you could download this for free, and it's got everything. Like if you want to look at the structural framing and stuff like that for the walls, they've got it there, and they've got all the different measurements and everything that you need to know how to do the walls, both sides of the walls. Once you get down into the details of the floor and everything, they've got that information there. So one thing about the widget is, like, when you step into it, you step down into like a little thing and you can stand up there. But again, I didn't want to do that. I want to just, when you step into the camper, it'd be ready to go. I don't know what else. Oh, it covers the doors and everything. So with the mock-up, so let me get my mock-up here. Okay, so here's my mock-up of my camper, and it doesn't have windows in it yet, but it does have the door in it. And all I did was use, you can go to the dollar store and buy this foam board for like $1. It's a big giant sheet. And then I bought some poster board as the roofing material for $1. And it took less than a sheet to make this, but and I'm not an architect, so this isn't perfect, but it gives me an idea of how the camper is going to be before I build it. So I'm going to take the ceiling part off and show you some of the details of I just pulled it off now just so we can look at the design. And all I did was use hot glue. And again, it's not perfect. It's, you know, I'm not a an architect or anything by any sense of the matter, but it kind of gives me an idea. So basically, the first time around, I did it where the bunk beds were these two pieces over here, and then my wife and I would just sleep right here. Well, as you can tell, I'm a pretty big guy, so I like to spread out a lot. And she felt as though this part where we were going to sleep was not going to be big enough for both of us, especially since I like to hog up the bed quite a bit. So I went ahead and stuck another bunk over on this side here. And the kids will sleep up here. We'll sleep down below. This area will get filled in with like a tabletop or something like that. The bunk areas, though, while they're down in this position now, just for this particular setup or mock-up, they actually will. I'm going to try to make them so that they'll fold up a little bit and mount to the ceiling so that we can all sit down below them. We'll have an air conditioner mounted in the back right here. I was thinking about mounting it in the front kitchen area where the galley, but my wife kind of wants the idea of being able to have a microwave up in the front. So there'll be shelves up in here that will have a microwave sitting up in there, a little small one, and maybe a little dorm refrigerator down below in the galley area right here. The bathroom area is right now it looks like it's a pretty big area, and it kind of is. And this part is probably the only part that I may do a little redesign on the fly. I'm not liking the way it looks as far as the bathroom is concerned. The door is right here. It would open up, you go in and stuff. But I don't see any need to have it as big as it is. So I may shorten this down a little bit and stuff. I don't know. Who knows what I'm going to do. Maybe I could have just done it, put a couple firecrackers in here and blow this thing to smithereens. I don't know. But it does have a lot of storage underneath the bunk area here, or underneath the bed area down below. The storage area is going to be back up in here. And I have not finished up the wheel wells on here. I really don't need to. I just need to know where everything is going to sit. So that's our camper. And this is our mock-up. There'll be windows in here I've drawn some windows right here, so they'll be under the bunk areas. So there'll be a window there, a window on this side to provide some cross ventilation. I am going to add a small window in the bathroom area because, well, just because. And then there'll be a window in the kitchen or galley area right here, as well as one in the door. I think that'll provide tons of light, natural light coming in. It'll look really nice once it's done. I don't want to put anything above the bunks because if they're going to fold up, it's just going to block it. It's not going to be fun. So anyway, this is my design, and this is the mock-up of my camper. If you have any questions or any ideas of, like, hey, Tom, why don't you try this? Please let me know. Throw them out there in the comments area. And if you, if you have any comments or whatever, just throw them out there. I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. But this is basically going to be the setup. So thanks for joining me, and thanks for watching my video on my custom build. If you like the video, please hit the like button down below. Or if you really want to follow this build, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to upload the videos every week, and if you want to leave a comment down below, and I'll try to answer those as quickly as possible. And thank you very much for joining me. Bye.